listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast, a Texas Tech athletics podcast where food and sports clash at the goal line. Here are your hosts, Spencer and Michael.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 23 Personnel Podcast. This is your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
Man, I'm just happy. I'm happy that we have survived. Yeah, well, we survived the storms. Unfortunately, a lot of folks' structures and other things did not. So, especially out in Levelland, really feeling for you guys today. And out in Wolfforth, they got hit pretty hard too. And speaking of Wolfforth, we have a Friendship Tiger on the line.
Mr. Wolford
coming
himself?
to you from Central Lubbock.
Yeah, we are. We're excited to have Keith Patrick join us. Friend of the show, many time guest, but happy to have him on. Really, we're just happy to get some additional sauce breakdown.
Yeah,
that's really why he's here.
Just gotta
Baseball,
people what they
maybe,
want.
but
yeah, dish on the
restaurant
sauce.
Yeah, for sure. No, like we couldn't let you go without talking a little bit of baseball. And I'm not going to ask you like staff changes or insider. That's not what we're talking about tonight. It's
Can we talk about staff changes in other schools?
sure. And like guys that like were impressive to you,
Sure.
or surprised, good and bad. I don't want to like focus on the negative here, but
No, that'd be
and you threw me off, man. So like one thing I want to ask you about is the errors, right? I was like we'll talk about this when we get to baseball, but like, is it something that's like turnovers in football? Like some years you're good at it, and some years you're like, well, it wasn't your year. Like, is it something to worry about, or is it like, it's young guys, and you'll figure it out, or is something else, or can you know? I don't know. Then we'll look at the regionals, see if there are any of those that stick out. Any passing fandoms you're going to pick up for the next month or so. And then of course we'll get to the sauce breakdown. So, before we get to baseball though, there seemed to be a wave of testing from EA Sports and their new college football 25 video game that's coming out this summer, and all that got released. It felt like it was embargoed until today, but it was like a wave of news and updates. One, we were talking on before we hit record. All three of us have played the video games, whether recently or in school. I think Keith predates all of us on his copy.
I played the heck out of 03, baby.
2000. I don't even.
You looked that
Harrington
up. Yeah, I was
on the
about to say, you got to tell us who's on the cover. I already forgot. Joey Harrington.
Yeah. I found I found a collage of all the covers. I'm like, oh, yep, that's it. 03. That hurts my heart.
This is the only one I ever bought.
Crabtree.
Yeah, and that
might have been the last one I ever bought.
I never, man, my college roommates and stuff, they tried to get me to play Madden, tried to get me to play NCAA. I was always so terrible at it. They didn't even enjoy it. They didn't even enjoy beating me. It wasn't even fun for them. It wasn't like, okay, yeah, so 66-3 again. Good job, Michael. Way to go. You ran the draw 6 times because you accidentally audibled. I don't know what you're doing over there. Yeah, I don't either. I don't know how to kick a field goal. Well, 1, you don't kick field goals. 2, anyway, it was just always terrible. I owned him in Super Mario Kart, but that was it. That was my one claim, and that dates me quite a bit.
So in
Super
high school,
Mario Kart. Yeah.
In high school, I had the original PlayStation, and I had NCAA Game Breaker 2000 was the name of the game. Keith Jackson was the play-by-play man on the game, which was glorious.
Mustache.
And like all those kind of games, like that era of games, and then like the early NCAAs, like you just learned the tricks, you learned the glitches and exploited them. And in NCAA Game Breaker 2000, you could return an onside kick for a touchdown consistently. I mean, just ridiculously consistently. And so, I mean, just own it at that point. And there were some gaping holes in the line in 03 that I exploited. And the fact that I had a 6'11", 275-pound, all 99s quarterback named Cliff Kingsbury was pretty impressive. He kind of dominated. I don't know where I read it. I don't know if it was, I can't remember if somebody sent it to me or I saw it on Reddit, but it was like, one of those posts like, my brother works for EA Sports and this is what he told me, But the description of the game is daunting to me. Like this fully immersive world, like every decision you make as a coach can, spell defeat for your team, and you lose your job, and transfer portal and keeping players happy and like boosters. Like there's all these layers. I'm like, I just want to play football. It sounds like too much, like I don't want to play Red Dead Redemption and be in this thing for 800 hours. I just want to play a football game. So that's what holds me back. Also, I mean, I'm 41. Like at this point, I'm not putting on the headset and playing video games with my buddies. So like, I mean, I'm not opposed to it existing. I don't know that if I have time in my life to get after it. The last time I bought a baseball game, I never played it. So
you're not likely not going to buy it this summer and play the heck out of it.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
I won't judge anybody that does. Like I loved that game. We played it. I have many fond memories with many different groups of friends. I had a friend in the dorms who has one arm, and he used to smoke us on that game. And I don't mean like, oh, he had like a nub. No, that dude had no arm, on, like was at the shoulder, was missing, and he could smoke us with one hand. Like we had great times, but I just don't have the time anymore. So I don't have time to do Red Raider Dugout. I'm certainly not going to have time to play NCAA football.
Well, I didn't know it was that immersive, but that's the trend now. That's how things are. And you mentioned Red Dead Redemption 2. I picked it up for the first time in 4 years the other day, and I was so lost. I don't know what any of the buttons do. I don't know how to ride a horse. I camped in a swamp once I figured that out, and then I was like, I don't know. I just can't do this anymore. Same. I'll be 41 this summer, and so it's just kind of that same thing of, if I've got time to game, I'm just going to sit down and leisurely harvest a crop of canola, take it to the grain elevator.
Still doing that, huh?
Oh, 100%. Just going to listen to an audiobook or a podcast.
A crop of canola.
Plant some barley, just enjoy the great outdoors. That's what I'm going to do.
The virtual outdoors.
Yeah. Where it's, your crop never gets hailed out. It's just perfect weather all the time. It rains some, but no one cares. You can do whatever you want while it's raining. It's good. So are you going to get it, Spencer? Are you the lone one?
Yeah, I'm probably going to be the all in it this summer.
I did read this too, and you're the young buck among the three of us, but someone did point this out on Twitter though, that the way they do the games now, where it's a lot of microtransactions and a lot of DLCs and a lot of other different things, it's going to be lost on a lot of the buyers of the game in their 30s and beyond, who are just like, no, I don't even want to connect to the internet. I just want to create my character or create my coach or my team or whatever and just play the game. There's going to be so many people who probably won't even mess with the online stuff. And yeah, no, I'm good. The base game. Give me the base game. Let me roll. I'll make a 6'11" guy named Sonny Cumby, and just to switch it up. Don't want to use Kingsbury. Well, no, he's available, I guess.
I saw a I was just looking at pictures of like a side by side between 25 and 14. I mean,
I think
Yeah,
the favorite thing I've seen was when someone did that with Tom Brady's first appearance in an NFL game and then his most recent.
the uniforms for Tech have changed quite a bit from those years.
Will we be Adidas in this game, or do they even go that far? Do they have the branding of the uniforms?
You know, I probably assume because it'd be so close to the announcement that they probably will have
They do.
Under Armour or some kind of generic.
Like if you look on the back, you can see there's a Nike swoosh on there for this is 2010. I'm showing. You can see the swoosh for USC. Swoosh.
The
Swoosh.
Swoosh. That's it.
The sploosh.
Oh man, finger on the pulse, Michael. The swoosh. Y'all heard of that? Y'all heard of them Nikes? You ought to get some of them.
Michael's got like a whole Uncle Baby Billy vibe when he goes into the redneck deal.
I can't help it. That's just my natural. That's my natural speaking voice. Every other time you hear me talk, it's me trying not to sound like that guy.
It's
Yeah,
the
he's
character.
presenting.
This
yeah.
is the character. The rest.
Yeah,
is
this
just
is-
stripped
Believe it or not, this is my radio voice.
down.
The rest of it is. Y'all want to know?
Very finely crafted. Yeah, no, I'll probably play it. I'll probably get fed up with the micro transactions and just like I just want the base game. I don't want to play online. Although online Dynasty with other picadors could be interesting. I probably wouldn't even have time for that. Michael and I
What's
talked
gonna
about
happen?
having an online co-op and farming sim, just the two of us,
Still waiting.
4 years ago. Still haven't done that.
What's gonna happen is like my wife's gonna like take my daughter to her parents' house one weekend, and I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna play it for like 36 straight hours, and then I'm not gonna pick it up ever again.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll get on a kick once in a while, and I'll put a bunch of time into something. Maybe a baseball game or something else, something online or whatever. I'll once a year. I mean, like a couple of years ago, I was like, hey, I'm gonna replay Homeworld. And so I'm hours on hours on a laptop playing a game that I played at the beginning of college, but it's just not, I don't see the commitment being there for me unless somebody drags me into it.
You could binge play on a rare occasion when the mood is just right.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's when you should do it. Is when 2025 comes out or whichever. What's this one?
Yes.
This is 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CFB 25.
Ugh. So the next one, whenever the next one comes out,
By 25 next summer, as we're getting ready to release 26.
carry the 20. Yeah, got it.
There it is.
Interesting. I'm continuing to look this up. So you will not be able to edit the attributes of real life players. You can edit created players, but there supposedly will be blocks to keep you from making a player like Arch Manning, who did not opt into the game.
Yep. That's something I wasn't gonna go like too deep. Like if y'all weren't gonna play, I was like, I'm not gonna bore you with the details of.
Well, it's still
Like-
interesting. I mean, and I'm like Keith. Just because I'm not going to play it doesn't mean I don't think it's awesome and that I'm excited for the people that like the games. But man, that was just never me. I just didn't know football well enough, and I probably still don't. I do have whichever Madden had Lamar Jackson on the cover. I do have that one, and I fire it up every now and then. But I just play against the computer.
Oh my gosh. As a dynasty coach, you give yourself a backstory as a motivator, recruiter, or tactician, utilizing 11 skill trees for coaching abilities. You can grow the skills, but you can't be great at everything.
Yeah,
Manage your coordinators, you can fire them after the season, and you can poach new ones from other schools. And here's what I said, oh my gosh, too. Each recruiting class includes 4,000 prospects, including athletes who are back in the game, but you cannot create a prospect. You have a certain number of hours each week to commit to scouting and recruiting, and you can sign up to 35 players. You can encourage players to transfer to bring the roster under 85 scholarships, which essentially works like cutting them because they can't decline it.
They should be able to, though. If they're going to go that realistic, they should just have a randomizer where 1 out of every 7 players is like, nah, I'm going to stay. But no, I really think you should nah, staying.
This is wild.
Love it here.
You have recruits that'll have deal breakers, like certain things that they want that smaller schools can't meet. You can send the house in recruiting. Wow. There's not NIL, but there is brand exposure.
Yeah, I think there was because that's outside of the realm of coaches and the coaching staff or athletic departments. Technically, that they weren't going to include that in the game.
This says EA said their explanation. You're probably right. It says that the NIL landscape changes monthly, and they didn't want to commit to something only for it to change.
That's also probably
also
true.
accurate.
Yeah, but by the time the game comes out, it'll be completely different. I don't know. I'm excited because it sounds like most of the updates to the game itself have just been about not the actual gameplay, like the physics engines. Although that certainly has changed and progressed in the last 10 years, but like just the everything on the outskirts of the game itself, like the management piece you were talking about. How deeply involved do you want to get into recruiting and roster management, or you just want to play the game? I guess we'll kind of define your experience with the game. I'm looking forward to it. I want to try it, but yeah, I just want to ask. It's came across that today. I was curious to hear if y'all had played other versions of the game and if you were interested in it coming back this summer.
As a person who watches people play Farming Simulator on YouTube, I find it very interesting, and I want you to tell us about what you decide to do and how your approach is to the game, Spencer, as it goes on. I genuinely am like, oh, I wonder what he's going to do. How's it going to go? Is he going to do the coaching thing or create a player? Which direction is he going to go?
Yeah, well, one of the things I found really interesting, it was a point that Keith was talking about, like you're, as a coach, you'll have certain areas or aspects of your game that you're more proficient, more skilled in. And then you have say into your coordinators where you didn't have that before. And so like you can stack up like, okay, we can all be really good recruiters and just build a really good team, or like my head coach can be a really good recruiter, but leave the in-game stuff to the coordinators and, use your coordinators to fill out, places where you are deficient. I don't know. It's all fascinating to me. I'm excited for it.
I just read another thing. It talked about like your recruiting strategy, like, how you do in the game on the big weekend when you have 100 recruits there, or if you invite 2 big quarterback prospects at the same time, how that affects both of their mood towards your program. Like that's not how, the game used to have like a temperature meter for recruits. And now you're talking about like how the weekend goes, like how pretty was the girl showing them around. For Pete's sake.
Was Spanky's did they have a good cheese stick night or a bad one? How did things go? Oh, see, I knew I was walking right into that one.
Yeah.
The last time, I did go there. When did we go? December. They were cold.
That recently? It's been cold. It's been many years.
I haven't been there in years.
Oh, that was the first time in years.
Yeah. I'm just going to tell you flat out. I went there in college. We used to have chapter of my fraternity nearby. And like, I thought it was good in college. And I don't know if it was after it was bought or if I just have a jaded memory, but I don't think those cheese sticks are good. They are flavorless.
I was about to say that. It's a lot of, the batter doesn't even have much flavor to it.
No.
What you're, and it all comes back to sauces, but
ranch,
the ranch, that's what you reach for.
I'm a marinara guy with those because there's absolutely no flavor on them.
And with the
Or, you know,
marinara, you can kind of doctor it a little bit if you need to.
I will say, after a baseball game earlier this season, a group of us went to Wrecked Burger Bar, and
I
the
want to
burgers
try
were,
them.
yeah, like the burgers were fine. I felt like mine was a little burned, but like all the concepts of them were good, like all the combos and stuff. But the appetizers we had were bananas. They were so good, and the fried cheese was awesome.
All right.
I want to real quick, Spencer. I want to say hey to Steven. Steven's chimed in on the YouTube chat line.
YouTube. Welcome.
So hello, Steven. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, you brought up cheese sticks in baseball.
Yeah.
I assume you saw like the specialty hot dogs at the Big 12 tournament.
I did.
Okay, we talked about this last week.
Well, I saw Tex. I didn't see all of them.
Yeah. Okay. So besides, I guess the connection to Spanky's, like it didn't really make a whole lot of sense why Tex hot dog was a hot dog and a mozzarella stick drenched in marinara.
Except for that.
Well, yeah, but I was like, I mean, is that really well, like, are we?
Yeah.
Is that
right?
well
Is
known
a-
enough outside of Lubbock that that's a thing,
calling
or is it
card
just
of
like
of the city?
Yeah, well, and I think too, since Texas got the jalapeno cheddar sausage, which is just totally not fair. They're the only ones that
No.
had a non-hot
should've
dog
been-
hot dog.
It should've
Well,
been
if
tofu.
yeah, if that was fair, if that was on the table, why didn't we just get a sausage wrap and a tortilla? Just
Yeah.
call it a day. Let's just
I
do
mean,
that.
if you want to define Lubbock, Texas, or Texas Tech, like meat is the base.
Yeah.
not
And then
cheese.
tortillas somewhere, probably.
no, for
Obviously.
sure.
If you're going for the college angle, that's it.
Yes.
It's so easy.
Well, we're overthinking it.
They're
overthinking it. I mean. We've
Oh
got to
yeah,
figure
for
it out.
sure. Basketball, real quick. Did y'all see the transfer coming in from New Mexico, JT Toppin, signed,
Yeah.
coming to Tech? This is back-to-back years where Texas Tech has taken the Mountain West Freshman of the Year and made them a Red Raider. A lot of New Mexico fans a little salty about this move. Wanted to break down media market ratings and all that kind of stuff. Like, y'all have no clue if you're looking at media markets and saying, well, why is he going to Lubbock? It's like media market number 114 and Albuquerque's 73. And cool.
Okay.
Cool. Good flex. That has no bearing. Like, Big 12 basketball versus Mountain West basketball, for one. Like, you can watch every Big 12 game if you wanted to. Definitely watch all the Texas Tech games. He's probably getting a heck of a lot more money NIL wise. Like, it's not like Lubbock versus Albuquerque, although to me that's fairly simple too. It's
Albuquerque would smoke us, guys, in a Lubbock versus Albuquerque. So many guns. So much money. I mean,
There would be no rules.
I don't know about Lubbock versus Albuquerque, but I do know that McCaslin's cooking, and I like it.
Yeah, and this guy,
I think he was like, you know, I think that there was the general like Texas Tech wants to be positive, but there was a lot of doubt early with him. There was doubt through the season. You know, like I think the dude's going to cook. I think he's going to do a good job.
the fact that he took this team with that roster with such a quick turnaround to the tournament was insane.
And the injuries.
Yeah, everything involved with last season, and he still, the off the court stuff, everything, and he still somehow got that team into a tournament, which I never would have expected or wanted him to, felt like it was a failure if he didn't do. But yeah, to land top, and I watched a 3-minute highlight video, so I'm an expert now. And the one thing, I like a lot of things about his game. He works really hard on rebounds. He runs the floor. Dude's fast. He's on fast breaks a lot. Sometimes he's causing them with a block shot or a deflection, and then they'll reward him on the other end with an easy dunk. But yeah, I like that he's left-handed. I like that he works hard at the basket when rebounding. offensively and defensively, contesting shots. The only thing, he does a pick and roll a lot. I think that's not going to be quite as available in Big 12 play because some of those he's just wide open somehow. But then they'll get the ball to him and he'll mishandle it a little bit. But even with that mishandle and that hesitation, he could still get it up to the basket. So I'd like to see improvement on that, and I'm sure we will, but I just wouldn't anticipate that pick and roll being as wide open in the Big 12 as it was in the Mountain West. And New Mexico's uniforms, they're all over the place. Did you know they wear blue and they wear yellow? They went up, they played against Wyoming wearing yellow. That just seems like a middle finger.
Wow.
Wyoming wore white and New Mexico wore yellow uniforms. Anyway, I don't claim to know the history of New Mexico, but I really
yellow,
like
red is
Toppin.
in the state flag.
Well, sure.
And of course, the turquoise, but
Yeah, just I guess.
Having lived in New Mexico, the state, for 3 years, I'm also an expert in all things New Mexico.
It's true.
I'm sure he also, because he's from the Dallas area, was tired of green chilies being forced down his throat.
I was about to make fun of you for hating green chilies, but then here you are.
No, I'm
bringing it home.
My stance on that softening a little bit. I don't mind him as much anymore. But I've also been removed from New Mexico now 8 years, so
forced down his throat.
But he's from Dallas, 6'9". He was huge, man. 6'9" as a freshman. Average almost a double-double. 12.5 points, 9 rebounds, almost 2 blocks. It's what got him to the All Mountain West. The honors there. Shot 62% from the field. And then in their tournament, averaged a double-double, 10 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 blocks. And got a double-double in the title game against San Diego State. ESPN had him the 12th ranked transfer and was the 3rd best still available when he committed and signed. So there you have it.
From the land of Lottaburger to the land of Whataburger. Welcome back. It's good to have you, Mr. Toppin. back in beautiful Lone Star State.
The great state, where we've got 2 professional teams in their respective conference finals. Mavs and Stars both in their Western Conference finals. Mavericks are up 3-1. They could not sweep. That's okay, because the Wolves are good. Stars are playing tonight. I haven't even checked on what they're up to. Let's see.
Keith, you keeping up with either of those?
No. One is Spurs go, and two like Yankee flat ball. Not my sport.
The Oilers are up 4-2 on the Stars in the 3rd period. So
Houston,
they're likely to tie that series up. Mavs play tomorrow. We'll play Thursday.
The Stars are playing the Oilers?
Yeah.
Okay. That Edmonton?
Edmonton.
Canada?
Yep.
Canadian.
All right. Baseball.
So many things happening in baseball right now.
It's true.
It is. Angel Hernandez is gone, finally. The Wicked Witch of the West.
May rest in peace.
I have loved every single one of his compilation videos that have come out the past week with like all of his blown calls.
They're incredible. My favorite was the John Boy one. It was like the most language. It was just guys going off on Angel Hernandez, just furious over and over and over. Did y'all see the meme? Angel Hernandez signature on his retirement paperwork.
No,
it was like signature line, and it was up here.
I loved a lot of the jokes about like how he's going to keep his phone on him, but so he can still miss some calls.
I saw the selfie.
The selfie picture sent me. I don't.
It's just like the corner of his cap in the corner of the frame.
I think that. Oh no! I think what's my favorite part of, first of all, Angel Hernandez was he was the reason for the famous story of the organ player getting tossed out of a minor league baseball game for playing a song during an umpire argument. See, he was the umpire arguing, and the crew chief came up and tossed the organ player. There's a video of it and stuff. I'm reading a book about the College World Series, and Ryan McGee talks about it because the organ player was the guy that played the organ at Rosenblatt forever.
Was he the one that played the Three Blind Mice?
No, it was. I can go grab the book. I just read about it. It was something else. It wasn't Three Blind Mice. I've seen that video, but Angel Hernandez was the reason for that. The other thing, I just think it's incredible that he sued baseball and alleged racism for not being given a World Series assignment or a crew chief position. Like, you are literally the worst guy at your job.
You are the meme
in professional sports. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Baseball. So there's that.
Also, the Negro League thing.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the Negro League, their stats are being added in, or both league stats are going to be compiled and considered for Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, they added the Negro League stats to MLB record books today.
Okay,
it's cool, and Josh Gibson absolutely deserves, and a bunch of those guys deserve to be like on those lists. Josh Gibson's the leader in a ton of categories now. Who's Bob Gibson's brother, by the way, which I think is lost a little bit to people. Josh Gibson's incredible, but my one thing about those is those stats are like super questionable over history. Like they're just not. They weren't fastidiously kept.
Oh, I see.
Just because of the nature of the game, and like some of it's just like, okay, which MLB stats in 1887 probably weren't quite as good either. You know what I mean? But like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because the resources, MLB have a lot more resources.
We literally don't know how old Satchel Paige was when he died. The guy never would tell anyone his actual age. So I feel like it's a little harder to compare. But I think it's awesome they did. Like, I'm not arguing with it one bit. I think it's really cool. And if you ever watch the Ken Burns baseball thing, and they talk a lot about the Negro Leagues and Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige and what's his name? I'm going to forget his name. The first black coach in MLB. He's awesome. He's one of the narrators on the show all the time. I'm going to think of it in a second.
Well, while you're thinking about it, let's
Buck O'Neil. Sorry.
Rehash some painful memories from this past weekend. The Texas Tech baseball season ended, and I mean, it's been a long time since your season's been over this early, since it ended in the Big 12 tournament. But you played 4 games, which is more games than you played. It feels like in a long time. You beat Texas game 1, you lose to Oklahoma State game 2, you bounce back to beat Cincinnati game 3, and then you face Oklahoma State again for a chance to get to the title game in game 4. So had you beaten Oklahoma State, you would have had to play UCF again, you had to play UCF. And that
night.
Yeah, you had to play a doubleheader, which was already going to be a late game because when you were playing Oklahoma, I think that game wrapped up 9:30.
Yeah, like your 4:00 game didn't start till 6:15 or whatever it was.
Yeah, and then you had your 30 or 40 minute break, and then you would play another 2.5, 3 hour game.
Yeah, which Oklahoma State did.
Yeah. And then they would have to go into the title game the next day. So you go 2-2. I mean, not surprised.
Parrish was awesome.
Yeah, I would say of what you did see of individual performances, his start there was phenomenal. And it was
and after he came in relief, and I don't know that he recorded it out earlier in the weekend or whatever, earlier in the week. I don't know if y'all remember. He had a quick relief appearance in one of the games that was awful and came off like screaming into his glove. I mean, I don't think he recorded it out. And so to come out and have a start like that was wild.
Yeah, it was
and a record appearance from Ryan Free too was also another highlight.
Yeah, the bounce back there for free was
Yeah.
welcome because after he got rocked in Stillwater.
Yeah. Who did?
But yeah, I mean, so you go 2-2. You were basically needing to get to the title game, maybe even win it to be putting yourself into a position to be considered for the tournament.
I think
Selection, yes, Selection Monday came and went. You're left out. Not surprised there. I think we'd kind of seen that, and we're expecting that to happen. Final RPI for the season 58. So in a field of 64, obviously, you were not you were on the fringe anyways, but with automatic bids and all that kind of stuff. If you look around the field, certainly you can say like Texas Tech is better than a handful of those teams, but also, I mean, they earned their right into it, and you didn't. So I'm not like broken up about like, oh, we got hosed here. Like 58 should have made it in. No, it is what it is.
Yeah, like in baseball, I mean, you're on the bubble when you're hitting the 40s because of all the AQs like you're talking about. And so, yeah, it was no surprise. That's why I said I think you had to win it. I think you had to have the AQ. And I'm not one to agree with Kirk Sarloos, the TCU coach. I think he's a whiny bastard, but he was upset after not making it. Cincinnati and TCU also didn't make the tournament. And they were both in the first four out of the Big 12. And he was talking about the moving goalposts, and I find myself agreeing with him because one year it's RPI, and the next year it's another metric, and this year was heavier, and like they talk about it every year. D1 baseball in particular looks at it a lot, but this year the committee seemed to add extra weight to your conference record, and Tech had a losing conference record and a bad RPI, and so that's why I think that the kind of prevail, and you had a really bad stretch down the stretch of the final stretch of the season. So I think the kind of prevailing wisdom was you need an AQ. You're just not going to earn your way in. You're not going to change their mind, like you've turned it around or something. And so, yeah, just a bad year to have a bad conference showing. And I'll say that kind of early in the year, several of us kind of agreed, hey, this is starting. I mean, it was really kind of after Texas. This is feeling like 2003 potential, which was a year you missed the Big 12 tournament. You were so down, which obviously you were close. If that game in Stillwater hadn't been rained out, you most likely would have gotten in, but that's what guaranteed it.
Had you played that third game, it would have forced the other games to be, considered.
Baylor would have had to do something.
Yeah.
I think that, they couldn't get swept, maybe. I can't remember exactly how it was, but yeah, it was a bad year.
Baylor had to win.
To be a bad year.
Yeah, it was like I think Baylor had to do whatever you did plus 3, but they had 2 series to do it. So while
yes.
if you got swept, they they would then have to sweep or win 3 games over their last 6.
I think they had to sweep.
Yeah. And then
if you had lost Sunday, they would have had to sweep or something to that effect.
Yeah, but the way that the game was canceled came down to percentage points, and they weren't going to be able to touch it. So that's how you secured the 10th place, and you weren't going to move up from there. With the way the other records are. So, let's talk about just some high level thoughts because you talked about, or we've obviously felt the absence of Dinger Derby and Redder Dugout this season because of your schedule. I don't know, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth.
Abandonment of my responsibilities.
Well, to focus on family. Who's to blame you? I'm not saying like screw you for leaving us all in the lurch, like making Michael talk baseball.
My wife looked at me the other day and she's like, "You're a genius. You could not have picked a better year to not."
But no, I want to get your thoughts just because, like I said, like we haven't heard them, and you've done such a great job the past couple of years. One, Are you surprised about this season, good or bad? Were there players that stood out, good or bad? And then, like I said, I do want to get back to the errors thing. Is it just like in football, just because it's an oblong shaped ball and it just bounces funny? Is that just how it's going to go because you were playing kind of younger guys and kind of pushed them into the service there, and it'll get figured out, or is it just bad luck, or is that something to be concerned about? So let's back it up. Surprises, good or bad, like coming into the season, you were talking about after the Texas series, you were like, hey, this could be rough. At that point, like in early March, like were you saying like, man, this is like this is bad? Whereas like we can turn it around. There's enough parity, like we can play, ourselves into it, or is it just like, were there enough, I guess, signs of like the wheel's going to fall off like any second now?
To me, there were signs, and to guys that I trust that know a lot better baseball than me, I think they were quietly seeing, those flaws that were going to get exposed. Nobody expected. Well, let me say, am I surprised? Yes, negatively. I thought this team was better. I thought that you had a chance to be better. I thought that your young guys would contribute a little bit more and slump a little bit less. I thought your freshmen were a little more lake ready than maybe what they showed from a consistency standpoint. But I mean, think about it. And I'm not here to make excuses because this was a bad season and there's a lot of blame to go around. But nobody thought Brady Trombello was going to get hit in the head with a baseball.
Yeah.
Nobody. And somebody argued with me about that one time in the stands. Yeah, but we're talking. They're like, yeah, but we're talking about starters. I was like, he started opening weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You lost Zane Petty, you lost Trenton Parrish for a good part of the season. I'm going to forget guys. That.
Yeah.
You had multiple impactful arm injuries, which begs some other questions. Why so many? Why at the time that we had them? That kind of stuff. So you press some guys that needed to step up, and some did, and some didn't. Some had bad days and whatever, but you can't ignore the disappearance of the offense on the road.
Mm-hmm.
You can't ignore the lack of situational hitting. Battering with runners in scoring position. I mean, at one point it was like games. You were like 1 for the last 27 with runners in scoring position. It was just horrible. That was the kind of stuff. And I feel like with the error question, to me, it's the snowball effect a little bit. I mean, you had some young guys, you moved them around a lot, and by necessity in some ways, and trying to find the answer. And so you had more errors that way, but then the season just turned to crap and everything piled on, and the errors just kind of came along with the boat races and all the other stuff, So, I mean, I'm not worried about those. It's not like, oh my God, nobody's coaching these kids to not suck in the field. I think it was just a symptom. I think it was a symptom of the greater problem of this sucks right now. And they're just having to gut through what it is, and they still showed some fight, and I appreciate that, and they played tough in the Big 12 tournament. And I mean, I thought gave you 4 good competitive baseball games, and, unfortunately only got to win 2 of them. But yeah, it was rough. I was surprised. I didn't think we were going to Omaha, but I thought it was, you had a chance to have a better season than that.
Yeah. So I know that we've seen Tadlock kind of tinker with the lineup, and it always just kind of, it was a surprise to me, and probably just because I know less than I think I do. And I definitely know less about baseball than Tadlock, but Cash as a leadoff hitter never made sense to me.
Yeah, me neither.
And I don't know if that was there just wasn't enough around him to move him lower, or if they figured out he for whatever reason preferred to hit first and like he was doing best there. I don't know. It felt weird to have your kind of power hitting first baseman be your leadoff guy. I was like, that's not really his role. But
No, I agree. Like, I mean, just kind of normal, like your normal baseball thought process doesn't quite fit. And my only answer to that is they know his brain better than I know it, you know. And
yeah.
maybe there's just there's less pressure in that situation for him, or I don't know, you know, maybe that was. And at some point, I think they were just trying everything they possibly could. And I think you saw games where, I hate to say it, I think you saw games where that team quit, you know, and on the road in particular at different times, not every game or anything. But you saw some moments they were just disinterested, and then you came back the next game with, I mean, just a drastic shakeup, you know. And I think there were just some messages being sent at times too, and but you didn't have an obvious option. Like there ain't no Gabe Holt out there, you know, that's just the obvious leadoff man, you know. Um, so not the way anybody was hitting.
Well, yeah, especially there at the end of the season. Yeah, so um so some of the younger guys, I would say like surprises for me and in a positive sense is like I'd heard, you know, you talked about him. I heard other guys talk about Mac Hewer, higher.
Yeah.
just pick the absolute wrong one.
To
To come in as a true freshman and to hold down like a weekend starting rotation spot, and to do as well as he did for the majority of the season is like that's not easy because he was coming from homeschool. Like he was not even like in a huge like always coming from Denton or whatever baseball power like you can name off. It was homeschool out of Georgia, like, and came in and was he moved into the weekend rotation. Like he didn't start there. Held it out. Had some struggles, which you could certainly understand as a freshman making that transition. But was like so good for a lot of the season. Bravo, I think, offensively for most of the season was like batting almost 500 for part of the year. It's like, man, like he's doing everything. And then like you had
he was your best. I mean, I would argue Bravo was your best all around player for the first half-ish of the season, at least the first third. I mean, he was he was impressive, and then he settled down a little bit, but I mean, I thought he was really good.
Well, he settled out and still like ended up batting 380 on the season.
Yeah, he led the team. Yeah, he batted.
He led the Big 12, I thought.
He batted 378. I know he moved. Yeah, that's right. He did. Yep. And there was some RBI leads kind of changing in around here and there too for different guys.
And then like you were trying to figure out like your outfield / DH rotation with Woodcocks and with Bravo and Green and Washburn and Harrelson whenever he was available or whenever there was you needed that other guy out there. Yeah, you touch on the infield, middle infield specifically. Between Pompey, Lopez, Burns at times. Just like maybe we had just been kind of spoiled by the guys that we've seen before, and then I heard Bro said like you really haven't had like you've had like some really good guys, but like point out like best of the best, like that's not been where your best players have been. I think it just kind of highlights like how poorly they played, but like just how significant that performance played a part with the team. And then the guys you had like on the bench or on the roster, like they weren't middle infielders. Like you've got Stripling, and I'm blanking on his name. If I had the sheet pulled up, but
Travis Sanders.
Yeah, Sanders and Davis Rivers and
he's a catcher.
Bame. You know, like you just didn't have other guys that could fill in there and be like, oh well, like that's his natural position where like you know he can move over there and it not be a problem. It's like you played Pompey for as long as you did because that's what you had.
Well, and Pompey looked good to start.
Oh, for
You know,
sure. And then
and had
his
some bonehead
defense.
moments. Yeah, and then it started to kind of snowball too. Um, yeah, and bro's not wrong. I mean, like if I think back over the last few years, and you're just like, okay, who are the best guys in those positions that you had? You know, now like Jace Young was fine at second
Yeah.
base, and he's going to be a big leaguer. You know, but they've moved him. But like I never thought of his second base play as anything like inspired, you know, or anything. Like
I mean,
Brian Klein, Captain Consistency over there was probably,
yeah.
you know, and just like that dude, you know, that great college baseball player. And then
Kurt
Cal
Wilson,
Conley. I mean,
playing short, that wasn't his position.
I'd certainly go through Cal Conley at short.
Oh yeah,
you know,
for sure him.
And you go like Michael Davis at second, and you
Mhm.
know, Gabe Holt was atrocious at second base. Just was. I mean, just flat out. But yeah, I agree. But in a year where so much was going wrong, you know, you couldn't afford what you saw some of those times.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the game? I mean, was it K-State? I'm gonna forget. When you turned 7 double plays and you lost.
That's Kansas, yeah.
Yeah, Kansas, thank you. Yeah. I mean, you know, it was just that was the year. And I was just looking when you brought up errors. I was looking at fielding percentages. I mean,
yeah, you finished dead last in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, Pompey finished with a 934. Everybody below him, basically. Everybody below him on that list is a pitcher. So I mean, that's just, you know, not Bravo with a 943. That's in the outfield. Yeah, you just can't. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, and normally you don't. And I'm not gonna make excuses for him. But like your first baseman, like your slugger had a 984. You know, so I mean, these all world guys ought to be doing a little bit better. But yeah, it was a struggle.
So
and they were damaging, and they were really damaging. I think that's probably
the big thing. Like the errors they had, it seemed like they were significant, and it extended innings where teams were able to score runs when you were like you had them on the ropes, or like you were down to 2 outs, but then you commit an error and then like they scored 3 or 4 runs that inning. You're like, well, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah. Like this should still be tied, and it's not.
Yeah.
This is super uplifting right now.
The other thing that you brought up, I wanted to ask about. So you were talking about like hitting with runners in scoring position, and just like your situational hitting. It again, from a guy that like doesn't go to practice, I don't know the coaches. I don't know their philosophy. I don't know the players that well. It felt like the offense was one dimensional, and they were really good at times at being a power hitting team. But like when that wasn't working for whatever reason, like it was a bad offense. Like, was that just like a limitation of the roster? Was it like, would you know if it was like, this is what they identified as what the strength of the team was, they weren't going to go away from it, or just like you were just, you know, a couple of mishits away from like games really turning, and like you weren't going to change your entire approach? Like, we just got unlucky with like a wind day, you know, like it was blowing the wrong way or whatever. We're not going to change what we're doing because the wind's whatever, right? Like,
yeah, I think the wind thing is a cop out that bad announcers use.
Well, so
about tech baseball, but
I was thinking like so that series in Waco, right? Like the wind was blowing in, but it felt like everyone was trying to lift the ball to the outfield. It's like that wind is knocking everything down.
Yeah,
but like apparently that's how that stadium plays. Like that's not unusual, but it just felt like there were stretches of games or series where it just felt like if you weren't hitting home runs, you weren't doing anything. Yeah.
I agree. And I felt like that this is just pure like anecdotal speculation. Like I feel like the team has trended that way over the last few years. I feel like the last few years there has been moments in the season for this team each season where we're going, are we relying too much on the home run? And then they seem to kind of adjust, put it together, or they just keep hitting home runs, and it bites you in a couple games, but otherwise you're okay. And like this year, it didn't ever get any better. I don't have an answer. I have no idea. I have no idea why a team um, would go out and do or execute so poorly, particularly on the road with runners in scoring position. And like, I don't know if that's, I mean, you just can't pee down your leg every time. Like that's not the answer. It's not, they're not just scared. Um, so yeah, I don't know if it's an approach thing, if it's a scouting report thing. I don't know. I'm more of a, like, if I'm ever going to talk about a baseball team, like I'm more of a chemistry guy. And I mean, the time I got to sit down front and kind of watch them during games, like everybody else, like I don't think this team had great chemistry. And the teams that have been really good at Tech did, and the teams that have been kind of okay have kind of been in cliques, and the teams that have been bad, to me, feel like just not. They just didn't mesh, and I didn't feel like this team meshed. Not from me just watching them.
Well, Keith, name names. Who is a Cancer? Let's kick him off.
No,
Let's vote him off the
I don't
island.
have that. I don't have. There are years that I could look at it and go, "That's a me guy. That guy's a problem." Whatever. And I didn't feel like that. I mean, I don't get that impression from anybody. It just didn't seem like they
Just
gelled.
on them. Yeah.
And maybe there's not a great leader, or like there's not a. I will say that it's not a team with a star, and not like Josh Young comes along every year or anything, but like it's not a team with a high draft pick, or a fifth year guy, not that like from a leader standpoint. So maybe that's part of it. Just the turnover is hurting how they operate. But yeah, they've got to do. I mean, I'm like every other fan right now. Like they got to do some things. They got to make some adjustments. They got to look at the strategy. NIL's coming into question. I mean, there's just a lot of that stuff. You got to have the dudes.
Do you think, I mean, from what we've heard him say publicly, like, is that something like Tadlock is interested in meddling with, is the NIL and getting involved in all that kind of stuff? Or just like, man, just let me build the roster the way that I want to know, or the way that I know how to do it. Like, is that the way that the college athletics is changing towards that? Like, is that a concern that we should be aware of, that like, hey, maybe he's he's getting a little old for this game?
Yeah, I've heard people talk about him getting left behind and some of that. I mean, first of all, I'm not gonna pretend like I know Tim Tadlock. Like we're not best friends. I respect the heck out of the guy. I've been lucky enough to be around him and have some conversations with him, but not like I'm not speaking for him, but that dude likes to win. He is extremely competitive, not to a fault, not to a be an a-hole kind of level, but he's there to win and he takes it seriously. I don't think he shies away from it. I think he is willing to recognize the realities of the game and like what they're doing. I think they had a really good formula before COVID, and obviously it was working, and they had a formula for how they recruited and the kind of guys they wanted and the way they built a team and the way they managed the team and the freedom they gave players and the trust they gave them. And I think there was a lot of positives. And I don't know how much, like, post-COVID and NIL were the same time.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the calculus changed. And I don't know how quickly they had adjusted. What concerns me, and I mean, you can lay it at the coach's feet, but like there's just reality to it too. What concerns me is like the SEC spending on average $1 million a team at NIL for baseball. And then you got outliers. You got single pitchers that are drawing something huge, like at A&M and stuff like that. So and I'm not going to pretend that we're an SEC school. Like we don't have a 15,000 seat stadium or 10 championships hanging on the fence or whatever, but like you were competing with them and knocking them out of Omaha, not so long ago. So I think at this point, like if you want to be competitive, because what did the Matador Club was it like 10,000 a player for baseball? I don't know if that's active right now or not. I know that's what they announced was the plan. So if that plan's happening, that's $400,000. Call it 500,000 for dudes that have extra NIL deals in baseball. Like you're still not even close, to the level. So Paul Skeens, Tommy Tanks, like name the transfer. Like, are you even in the conversation for these guys when you call them? Based on what they're hearing from other teams, it doesn't feel like it at the moment. And you've been successful finding, the lower level guys, the Monteverdis, the Andrew Morrises, like,
oh yeah,
you've been success. You still get legit recruits. I mean, Pompey, Hewer Hewer and Pompey both were pro baseball prospects for sure. I mean, you're getting dudes. The number one player in the class coming up is still committed to you. He'll probably get drafted, but like, that's a legacy. I mean, you're still recruiting your butt off and getting good players, but like, it's the transfer guys. It's the big impact guys. It's the grown man guys that I wonder about. My other concern, and I've been banging the drum of new ballpark for a long time, and I think that like what Chris Beard was really good at was swinging the sword a little bit on, and I mean he got a little success and used the ego and everything else and beat on the table and got what he wanted, with the Womble and the like increase the size and the budget of the Womble and all the things to compete with the best programs in the country. Love him or hate him, he did. And I think, Tim, from what we've heard, questioned where they were going to play and trying to rebuild or do major renovations and some of that stuff. I don't know the appetite for the fundraising for that. I know Kirby doesn't love the ballpark from what I've heard, just because like you want a permanent ballpark. You don't want the metal stands and, all that stuff. So I think you just missed an opportunity to like say, hey, look what we've been doing. You tore the Coliseum down, build one across the street. And instead we just spent $12-15 million on a clubhouse on a ballpark that needs to be rebuilt, in my opinion, for you to stay competitive, And so I think you're just getting double whammy between NIL and facilities right now. And it's just, I mean, you got like Southern Miss and who just announced a new one? ACU? I think ACU just announced a new ballpark or major renovations. I can't remember.
Maybe so. Yeah, they've had their. I know when the Prairie Dogs played there, that was probably 25 plus years ago. So I don't know if they've done a whole lot since then.
Yeah, I think that those are two things that you just, ACU phase 1 of baseball upgrade. How much was it? Like you don't need $85 million, but you got to do some upgrades at the very least, and it's coming in a bad spot. You're late. So I don't mean to be doom and gloom. It's just what I'm thinking.
No, I've been with you on wanting something at the baseball stadium, right? And it feels like they've been piecing together small updates when they could, but even those have just not kept up. And I know that you're not directly competing with like an Arkansas or whatever, but when you go to their stadium and you see it, you're like, we're not even playing the same game.
Yeah.
Like this is
that's what strikes me, Spencer. Yeah, like the clubhouse is awesome. No question. It's awesome. You got a brand new video board and scoreboard this year. Great. I'm sure they'll go build out the third base side before too long with suites or another club level or whatever. Like that's great. But it's not, and I'm not saying you need a 15,000 seat ballpark, but you need a modern ballpark with better fan amenities and permanent stands and, the experience of walking on the concourse and looking out at the field. I mean, just like, it's just the next level. But yeah, I'm with you. I was working in my garage. I was working on the pickup. I was watching Big 12 tournament It ended. I was up late, still doing pickup stuff. I flipped it over to the SEC tournament, and I'm like, this is not even the same type of human being. Like these are grown men, you know. And we talked about that as friends like a few years ago. I can't remember which year it was. We had a team, and I'm like, our dudes are small, you know, like they're not big athletic guys. And then the next couple of years, it took steps forward. And I feel like this was one of those back years again. Like, yeah, Bravo's a dude and Pompey's a dude, you know, but you're not looking at just some of these monstrous dudes, you know. And I know they're not all defensive ends or whatever, but like, there's just a different type of athlete. And I don't want Texas Tech to be the team that rolls into, you know, Jupiter, Florida for whatever the giant tournament is. And it's like you're in the line with the second-rate teams because you don't have a shot at the other guys. You know, that shouldn't be who we are. And we just saw this tweet come out that said Tech has the highest baseball
I saw that
budget like in the country, which was like $10 million. And I'm sure a lot of that's travel. And Tadlock's salary is like 1.25, you know, and that doesn't take NIL into account and all that kind of stuff. But it's like you're putting the resources there from an athletic department standpoint for them to go recruit and fly to games and all that kind of stuff. So we got to do the other side of it too. And so who needs to do that? Like who needs to, who gets those guys going? Who gets the money guys around the table and figures out the NIL strategy, you know? It's got to start. It's got to start with coaches, but you know, there's more to it. Beard wasn't the only one that got those dudes motivated for basketball.
For sure. So I guess while we wait to see what happens, I'm not expecting like any kind of announcement or kind of movement on this anytime soon, but we will get a look around some of the most competitive baseball environments. We can talk about the NCAA regionals taking off this weekend. Are there any
squeeze play?
Are there any regionals
awesome.
that like you have your eye on? Like I'm gonna tune into that one, or is like are you picking up a team here? Like, man, I really hope they knock off or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me roll through them a little bit. So the Tennessee regional. They're just compelling because I mean they're the only 50-win team in the country that I'm aware of. Their pitching coach is Texas Tech's former pitching coach Frank Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
They're always getting tossed for one reason or another, coaches and players. Like they're just a fiery talking team. So that's all. They're always just compelling to watch. I think the Oklahoma regional is interesting. Mainly because Duke should have been a host. And so I'm curious. Oklahoma got a tough draw. UConn's always tough. Oral Roberts was the Cinderella last year. And then you've got, you know, Duke who's feeling pretty slighted and has a better record than the host. So that one I think is really compelling. And then I think I'm scrolling, sorry. I think the North Carolina regional is probably my top that I'm most interested in. It's got 3 40-win teams. You got UNC, LSU, Wofford. Shout out Nolan Hester. I think that one could be really something to see. That's some big boy baseball in a regional right there. That's a tough draw for North Carolina. And then of course College Station, and you got A&M and Texas in the same regional. That's, you know, automatic. Like that's going to be some must-see stuff, I think. Some really interesting rumor mill stuff going on with Texas right now, too, by the way. In the season, especially towards the end of the season, we were all kind of saying, like, hey, David Pierce is not long for Austin. I mean, just can't. They're not going to keep putting up with it. And then they go 2-Q in Arlington. And then now there's this story going around the message boards that, like, one of the players' dads was so mad he was screaming at him in the dugout from the stands and at Pierce. And then he kicked the kid off the team and told him to go home with his parents. And then now, like, the team revolted. This is all message board, but like the team revolted. And then They're like, if he goes, we all go. And then compliance got involved. Now the kid's back on the team. It's like, this guy's going to get fired.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I don't know if who knows if that's real or not, but like their performance as a team and with the dudes that they had was not a good year for them, even though they're in the postseason. I mean, not great. So, and then it begs the question, if the Texas job comes open again, even with where this season has been, do they come after Tim Tadlock again? And at this point, they say, hey, by the way, here's your budget, and here's, $1.5 million in NIL that you're going to get to work with. What do you say? I don't know.
Well, and now for a guy that's as loyal as Tadlock, he doesn't have to worry about it being an in-conference rival or anything, because I'm sure at some point the dollars and cents are just so massive that wouldn't even matter. But
yeah, he's making 1.25. I don't think he gets money whipped, but I think,
right.
I mean, do you go for resources that you may not feel like you can get otherwise? I don't know.
And that,
or do they come after him and you leverage it?
Right. It's not like he's going to Arizona State or something now. I don't even know if they have baseball. That's how much I know about it.
We just played
Mike Rooney used to coach there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They run ruled us. Okay, I remember now. I tried to forget. I did a very good job.
It was a forgettable, like, unnecessary little 2-day series out there.
Just a weird timed. It was the DGAF tournament, really. Just like, whatever. Yeah. We'll get 3 more games in, I guess. Because
to mention the other regionals that I think are cool, UC Santa Barbara with Fresno State, Oregon, and San Diego, like a pure West Coast regional is kind of cool. And it's old school teams. The college baseball book, it's a College World Series book that Ryan McGee wrote, but he wrote it about the 2008 season. So it was the year that Fresno State won the title as like just the underdog of all underdogs. So that one's kind of cool just because of some of the vibes and all West Coast and some of that stuff. Oklahoma State can, stadium collapse for all I care.
Well, so I was going to bring them up.
I've never hated an entire family as much as the holidays. I'm telling you, it is. Yeah, it's impressive.
But the draw getting Florida there as a 3 seed is a little salty. They are a power hitting team, and what Oklahoma State did to us is like, man, I hope Florida does that to them. Because what was it in one of those games? They hit like 4 in a row, and one of them was a grand slam. I was like, man, you guys can just shove off. Get out of here.
I'll tell you, this is deep nerd, but one of the things that I think is really interesting in that one is you've got the College Baseball Hall of Fame gives the John Olerud Award, the top 2-way player of the year, and you've got, in my opinion, the top 2 candidates.
Oh yeah,
for that award are in that regional. You got
Benj
Florida and Oklahoma State. Benj at Oklahoma State and
Caglione.
Yeah, Caglione. Thank you. At Florida, it's pretty. So that's kind of cool. I mean, to see that together.
And the other one I was looking at was just with what Wake Forest was able to do last year, that they're going to be in Greenville against East Carolina. They've been good, especially the past few years. You've had them here in a regional. They're just, I don't know. It's a neat matchup there.
It's always fun, and I wasn't kidding. Squeeze play is awesome. If you want to sit down with a drink and just see, like, bounce action to action all day, it's awesome. Those first 2 weekends with Squeeze play.
Is that ESPN, Keith?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mike Rooney's in studio. I forgot who else is there. And I mean, it's like NFL Sunday Ticket or whatever those things are, Red Zone or whatever. They just bounce. And sometimes they go like 4 screens deep, just all games. It's just, I just think it's fun. It's a lot to keep up with, and it's cool to watch him do it. And I'm a Rooney fan. So, yeah.
And then
it's a fun time of year, but I'll tell you what, Selection Monday sucked.
Yeah. It's a lot more fun if one of the regionals is being played out in Lubbock for sure. Mm-hmm. But the one in Tucson with Arizona, Dallas Baptist, West Virginia, and Grand Canyon, I think could also be interesting. Just from a competitive, like, interesting and maybe even fun baseball to watch.
Well, and West Virginia is interesting because Randy Mazey's hanging it up after this year, and so
again, right? Because then he retire and then came back for one more year.
He might have. I don't know.
Or did he
I know he
announce
was-
like
he had,
super
like,
early that he was coming back, but only for one more year?
Yeah, maybe
something weird like
so. And which is crazy because that's a program they almost canned a few years ago.
Jeez.
West Virginia was.
Yeah.
So he kind of saved it with his, even though he's got that hitch in his giddy up.
Excuse me. So yeah, I mean, if you're a college baseball fan, got a fun couple of weeks ahead of us with regional supers and then College World Series out in Omaha. As a passive LSU fan and Tennessee fan, just because that's where I had lots of family members go. My mom went to Tennessee. Most of the rest of her family went to LSU. It was actually fun. Once I kind of recovered from Tech being eliminated to kind of follow LSU and then have them win it. I was able to pick out my uncle there in Omaha on a couple of games because he was sitting close enough to the field down like the first baseline. Like he kept making on the TV broadcast, like, man, there he is again.
Nice.
But yeah, that was
I
fun.
will say, I mean, and I'm not this year, but my wife and I have been talking about we're going to go to Omaha, whether we take our daughter or we go on our own. Like, go to Omaha, even when your team's not there. I haven't done it yet, and that's what I've gone twice with Tech, and it's awesome. But to go without being tied to anybody and just like enjoying the whole thing and doing what you want and being on your own schedule and watching whatever games you want to watch I'm excited to go do that sometime. It's amazing and unique, and somehow in 60 plus almost 70 years they haven't screwed it up, so it's impressive. I mean,
knock on wood, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really cool, and I highly recommend the book I'm reading. Ryan McGee's awesome, and even though it's dated now, it's basically 2008 was the year that they announced that Rosenblatt would be torn down and that TD Ameritrade, now Charles Schwab, would be built. And so he's kind of like, the book is kind of a celebration of all those years up to that point of College World Series and all the traditions and the neighborhood and all the things that had grown up around Rosenblatt and the traditions there. It's pretty cool. So, because that's not something I ever experienced. And then kind of comparing that to what I experienced and how it carried on. But it is a cool setup. The whole thing is awesome. So,
all right, we've got a couple questions to get to
okay.
before we get into the restaurant sauce. Right? Anything else on college baseball?
I'm going to say about Tech. Well, the thing that everybody's talking about. I mean, everybody wants to gnash their teeth about staff changes and stuff. I have no idea about that. But you might as well just, steel yourself. Like the portal drops are coming. Like you're gonna have a bunch of dudes entering the portal. I don't know if that's their choice or they're encouraged to, but that's coming. For sure. And we're used to that at this point, I think. But after a tough season, I think it's easy to look and go, see, like it's a disaster. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. But yeah, that part's yet to break. But
all right.
Anyway.
So I have a question for you, Keith. It doesn't have to be baseball specific, but do you have a favorite play-by-play voice, and who is it?
Like of all time or current, or?
I would say someone that's currently works. So like if you say like Joe Blow, like we can go listen to him like, oh, I think he's great, or like, I don't know what Keith likes about this guy. I don't get it.
Man, just setting us up to skewer your choice here.
Yeah.
And you can't say you because that's not.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say Keith.
My favorite is Keith. I love listening to Friendship Football.
God. Well, neither are current, but this doesn't have to be my answer. Huge Keith Jackson fan. Always loved Keith Jackson, like sound of my childhood for college football. And then current. No, nobody that I just adore. I hate most of them. So to be honest, who I like is, and I know he's not big time. What's his name? Shiambi Boog.
Boog.
And he does more basketball now.
Yeah, he does
we hear
basketball
him-
and like the Cubs, right?
Yeah, like we hear him do more basketball, right? But he was calling the game when Tyler Neslony gunned down the runner to knock Florida out of the College World Series. That was his call, which is just seared in my brain. And I've enjoyed his, like, when he does do college baseball stuff, I've enjoyed that. But to be honest, no, I'm not nobody really. I mean, I should say like Eric Nadel or something like that, but no, nobody really in particular.
As a Rangers fan, I'm not a huge fan of the guys that they have. I did like Josh Lewin, and he hasn't been with the Rangers for like many years. I think he was with the Padres for a while. I know Michael's probably roll his eyes because I bring him up a lot. Joe Davis is probably that guy for me. And it was difficult during the World Series because of the guy he was with. I'm blanking on his name. He was so negative towards the Rangers. It felt like, because it was my team, right? It was like anything he said that was even neutral towards the Rangers. Like, man, this guy hates the Rangers. He just wants the Diamondbacks to win. And Joe Davis is kind of like guilty by association, but it felt like he was kind of bringing him down. Smoltz, dude, I couldn't stand him. But Joe Davis, like he does football and baseball. He's done some Tech football games, which is wild. It was like a Tech TCU game a few years ago that we lost. But like, I like him. And it was cool to get him at the World Series, especially with the Rangers. But
I will say it, and I'm not old enough to have enjoyed him like that long, but I'm a big Vin Scully fan. And that's so, I mean, everybody loves Vin Scully, I feel like, but unlike normally, the idiots that they throw at Tech football drive me insane. And then because you don't know, because you're not getting national guys, and when you do get national guys, like, I'm not a Gus Johnson guy.
Tim Brando.
Oh God, can't stand Brando, man.
How
and I
do
like
you do?
I love Gus Johnson, but we've lost every single game that he's called. So like, I don't like him on our calls anymore. It's like, just get it.
I'll tell you this, and it's not football so much. I mean, we get garbage in basketball. It's it's a mess. But what drives me insane, and I think a lot of it is the virtual stuff when they still do it, is you've just lost play-by-play in basketball at this point. I mean, a lot of time it just becomes talk radio with a game playing on your screen.
Yes.
And I think that's just such a cop-out. You know, I'm not saying you got to do a radio call on TV, you know, but they're like, call the game. You know?
Well, at least there's so many times. Looks like there was a foul. Not really sure who. Can't tell who it was on. And yeah, plays resuming. And so anyway, so yeah, back to his parents. His parents were from Poughkeepsie, and they grew up poor,
Right.
and they drove a
I
wagon.
dated a girl from Poughkeepsie.
Yeah, it's
And
that's
not like
maddening.
It's not like a 40-point blowout, and they're just like, it just gets off the rails in those situations. You're like, no, it's a 2-point game a minute before halftime. You know, like, let's focus.
Yeah, let's bring it back in.
No, I'm
my guy's easily Kevin Harlan, and it was like a bucket list thing to hear him announce.
Yeah, Harlan's good. Yeah.
To hear him announce Tech in it was the Final Four, I think, that year.
Yeah.
I don't think he did the championship game, but I think he did. Well, maybe he did. I don't know. But he's my guy, because I grew up watching NBA on TNT and all that stuff in the late 90s. And anytime he's on an NFL broadcast, because I know he does a lot of radio for Westwood One, so you don't always get him on a broadcast, but that's always a treat. You're like, man, Harlan's on this one. I'm in. Let's do this. So I like him a lot. And then I liked Musburger a lot. I felt like he had a kind of a playful gravitas going on. I know he put his foot in his mouth here and there, but hey, haven't we all?
He was an amazing. Joe Buck was amazing, but Musburger was an amazing punchline in Brockmire. And incredible. But I liked Joe Buck after Brockmire. I didn't never like him before.
I never I never had the vitriol for Joe Buck, and it's just I've kept climbing up and up since then. That was a big turning point. You could tell that he could take a joke and make fun of himself and everything, but I didn't really. I kind of enjoy that he's kind of having his Guy Fieri moment a little bit, where people realized, oh no, this is okay. Maybe we were kind of jerks about this guy. Maybe he's okay at his job. He seems okay. So I don't know.
Two more things on this question. What's the guy on YouTube? I'm forgetting the name of it. The guy that does the parody high school football calls.
Oh, Blankenship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wes Blankenship. I think that's it.
Yeah,
right.
He's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's always players named
Coffee Town.
Yeah, or players named like
Nacho Davis.
Nacho. I swear there was a lizard somewhere. A Reptile Henderson. I think there was Reptile Henderson.
There was one. He's like interviewing Nacho Davis's sister, who's like, I mean, he spends 5 minutes reading off her accolades and her like serving the poor and homecoming queen and prom queen. And his first question is, "What's it like being the sister of the greatest linebacker in Coffeetown history?"
Those are so good.
And the last thing I'll bring up is, do you remember the baseball guy that they had do the Big 12 tournament, I think last year? The dude that had all the metaphors.
Oh,
do you remember just that cheese weasel?
He was. I remember. I vaguely remember just that happening.
That would have been 2 years ago.
Yeah, it may have been 2 years, because I think we all started looking up who is this guy.
It was like Joey Rattoni or something, or Joey Stromboli.
Yeah, and he was obviously given
Joey
a chance.
Zamboni.
Oh, that
Joey
was it.
Zamboni. Yep.
Yes, I vaguely do remember that now. He was trying to weave some sort of tapestry of words into every possible moment.
I don't know if that was actually his name, but it was something to that effect.
I like how it just agreed with you. Yeah, that's it.
Joey Zanaboni. I think that was it. Yeah. He does minor leagues somewhere. Anyway. So there's your lock it, cock it, rocket, we sock it.
Oh, man.
Check that off the bingo card.
He was a cheese weasel. But he leaned into it. I was making fun of him on Twitter, and he started responding during a game.
Nice. I'm like, looking back, I'd much prefer that over the guy we got from Texas this year. Whatever his name was.
Baseball. Oh, yeah. Their former. Yeah.
The color guy. I mean,
he's not as bad. He's not as bad as Old Man Holiday.
I'm about to say, it can't be worse than Holiday. Golly.
Oh, brutal. Like, he's mad at everybody. He's mad at fans. He's mad at their own players. He's mad at his kid. You know, he's
Josh, what are you doing?
I mean, yeah, brutal. And like, and to be honest, that the old man that they have, the old Pittsburgh Pirate guy that does it for West Virginia, is pretty brutal too. He just like rolls down, drives down to to Morgantown and does some games on the weekends, for the peasants is the way he acts. Goodness. Yeah, it's
All right. I have a question for Michael now.
Oh boy.
I dropped some pictures in the document. We were out dropping off recycling tonight, and my wife was like, why are the power poles here different sizes? I was like, you know what? I have somebody just in mind that can answer these questions, because he designs these things. So the pictures you're going to see, one, looking out the right. So we're on 80, whatever that is, that the recycling plant is on off of Avenue P. Looking right, all these are wood, right?
Yes.
Looking left, so from that exact same intersection, looking left, there are these metal ones that are probably like 6 feet in diameter, the base. Yeah. Massive. And then like if you go up Avenue P just a little bit, you get back to they're metal, but there's like they're in between sizes, like within 100 feet. Of course, in the pictures you see all the different ones in the backgrounds too, like all these different lines, pulse. Like what?
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Walk me, layman, here really quickly through like how can I answer this to Samantha? Like, is it just because they're carrying different number of lines, or
just to totally derail this, but also to give Michael some added credibility before this answer? I'm looking at the Google Doc, and I just realized that Michael's Google avatar photo is Gus from Lonesome Dove, and so from here on out, everything he says is obviously.
It has been. Do you remember when Google tried to do they came up with whatever it was they were going to do to compete with Facebook?
Yeah, what was it called?
Is it just Google Profiles or something? Or
No.
I forget what.
No.
So it forced me to make a picture, and so I chose Augustus McRae.
I just rewatched Lonesome Dove recently.
Oh man,
Google Plus.
Awesome.
Google Plus.
Google
that was
Plus. That's right. Yep.
Took the world by storm.
Obviously.
Okay, so Spencer, the quick answer to your question is exactly what you said. Number of wires, that's very important in this conversation, but also voltage. So, like say in your first photo, the photo that you took right there is of a distribution pole. So they have the wires with 25 kV or 14.4 phase to ground or whatever it is. So they've got different voltages for your distribution level. So that's what goes to your house.
Mm-hmm.
So the wires across the street that are much taller, that's transmission voltage. So that is now, because we're on ERCOT, that's 138 kV. It used to be 115 when it came in off of XL or SPS. So they've had to adjust that and make that connection differently. So you've got transmission wires on that side of the road. When you turn and you look at and you're probably dead right. That's a 6-foot anchor bolt cage foundation. It's probably 25 or 30 feet in the ground on top of that, embedded in concrete. And so the other thing to look at is are the wires turning? The wires are turning. You've got to have some way to support that tension going whichever direction it's turning. And a lot of ways to do that is to have what we'd call here a self-supporting structure, which is on an anchor bolt cage foundation. You don't have to have guy anchors. You asked for a short one. He's over there smiling. Anyway, so that's what you're getting at. You're on this pole, the weathered steel structure. You see davit arms at the top. That's your incoming transmission that's feeding at Southeast substation for LP&L. And then below that, you've got the distribution that's actually coming from that same substation that's going to people's houses.
All right, man.
There you go. Short class.
What you guys just sat through, or what you just sat through, is like my everyday now, because I do government relations as part of my job, which in a fast growth school district means I'm the roads guy. So I have 18 road and infrastructure projects on my board now. And let me tell you, between all the engineering firms, TxDOT, the county, 2 cities, and everything else in between, none of those fools talk to each other. And nobody has any idea what anybody's doing. So I get to meet with all of them and listen to them.
Good.
Yeah, I was in a TxDOT pre-construction meeting the other day, and I looked at the Lubbock city engineer and I said, it is absolutely incredible that anything gets built anywhere at any time for any reason. I mean, there was a girl just in charge of migratory birds. Like it was wild.
Yes.
Wild.
Yes. Anytime a road is widened, it is an extreme undertaking. Yeah. A road widening, everybody's got to move, and then everybody's got to move right now so that we can get this road built. We're
That's
doing a couple
why this
of
1
those.
mile of road costs $19 million.
Oh, sure. Yeah. If it's got 1 mile of transmission on it, that's at least 700K of it right there. Maybe $1 million, because it's in town and there's always a lot more going on to it. So if they have to move that over, then yeah, we're doing some of that stuff south of town.
So what you're saying is I should be really impressed with everything going on with the loop expansion out here.
What I'm saying is I actually designed that. All the poles that you see that parallel the loop. That I moved them out of the way. They're there where I said to put them. That's what
Very
I'm
nice.
saying.
Because we're at the phase
I
now.
cleared the path.
Could you maybe screw up and hold it up next time so the other projects get funded? Is freaking Loop 88 just sucking everything dry?
Whew, boy, I mean those text.let's dates, they don't mess around. No, we need y'all moved. Y'all, there will be penalties. There will be also okay, all right. We'll figure out how to crap out a couple of ductile iron poles and see what we can do.
See, Spencer, construction jokes. Here we are.
Just right over my head.
I mean,
All right, I'm gonna skip this other one.
My degree's in HDFS, so
yeah, I'm in public relations, and I sit at the computer looking at newsletters and podcasts and videos all day. So,
oh, let me be clear. I don't build any of this stuff. I just draw pretty pictures, and hope someone can read my mind on. Oh no, I meant for you to do this. This is
don't put the poll there. Put it over
yeah.
there.
What are you talking about? I never said that.
All right, the main event, hour 35 in. Here we go. Ranking restaurant house sauces.
Okay.
What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say, did we ever get your favorite play-by-play? But yeah, you talked about it.
Joe Davis, at least for now.
Yeah.
Until he craps on the Rangers. I'm like, that's one too many.
Should we feel bad that none of us mentioned any Texas Tech broadcasters?
No. It took one. I never liked Haney, and I know he's not here. It took me a long time to get on board with Hacks. He's different.
He had a little Twitter beef the other day.
He did.
I caught the tail end of that.
We also heard some potential backstory of that. It's like, oh, it makes sense. Last week talking to Rob, who now works side by side with him, so he's got a little more exposure.
That was off mic.
It was off mic.
Just a reminder.
Okay.
I liked that Jensen and Harris got themselves into trouble a couple years ago, blasting the refs, but otherwise, I'm not a big fan of them.
Of course you do.
You're
the Choice Woodman of the 23 Personnel podcast.
Just the
I
haterist.
I texted you that he was screaming at me because I was umpiring one of his kids' games and he was yelling at me. I was like, bro,
I never brought that up. I had to drive. I had to drive and spend the night in. I had to spend the night in. Where was that? Monahan's.
Ooh,
maybe.
Yikes.
To do a friendship baseball series so that he could go to the Kentucky Derby.
Did you go to Bennigan's?
No, I don't. I think it was Monahan's. No, I went somewhere horrible. I went somewhere where there was one light in this Mexican restaurant. Me and a friend. And when we ordered, the first thing we heard was them firing up the microwave in the back.
Oh no!
Yeah. It was bound to be awesome.
That's when you know it's authentic.
All right. One quick story about Monahan's, and actually goes back to the episode we did a couple weeks ago. When I was in Hobbs, working the hospital before I transferred over to Covenant, I was working the OR there in sterile processing, and the girl there was on a contract, and her longtime boyfriend was a truck driver that would often drive through Monahan's, so she would go down and meet him for dinner or whatever, but she always called it Mohannans, which goes back to the flipping of syllables that just drove me crazy because like everybody in New Mexico just couldn't say Chipotle, or sorry, they would say Chipotle, they couldn't say Chipotle, and they couldn't ever figure out how to say it's Monahans, not Mohannans. Anyways,
put the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Yeah,
they're just screwing all kinds of words up. It's like, no wonder nobody likes you. New Mexico doesn't claim you. Texas certainly doesn't want you. All right. Restaurant sauces. We're doing fries and wings, right? That's what we decided on.
Yep.
That's what we're doing.
Yep.
Okay. So list really quickly: Raisin Cane sauce, Slim sauce, Whataburger spicy ketchup, Chick-fil-A sauce, also the Chick-fil-A sweet and spicy sriracha, the Buffalo Wild Wings Asian Zing and Caribbean Jerk wings sauces. Those are separate. The Buffalo the original Buffalo at Wingstop, and Red Robin Campfire. I actually had this on Monday. can confirm it deserves to be on this list. It's pretty good. It's like a mayo barbecue, which you wouldn't think is a good mix. It's a pretty good mix.
It works. And
It
Keith,
does work.
what are we missing? What are you, we compiled
Okay.
this list before we brought you into the circle of trust.
Okay.
Circle of trust.
I'm gonna say that. Well, first, like cane sauce is the only reason to eat canes because their chicken's not good. So
Fair.
another flavorless thing, but the sauce is good. I've never had slim sauce. Whataburger spicy ketchup is solid. If I'm going to Chick-fil-A, a sweet and spicy sriracha is good. I'm getting honey roasted barbecue. I bet we have
Ooh, okay.
100 packets in our fridge right now. Like if they will give my wife a bucket of them, she will take them. Totally agree on Asian Zing. I, as a wing guy, am a big lemon pepper wet fan. So,
Yes.
but I do like the sauces at. I like the sauces at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yes.
Not like the wings at Buffalo Wild Wings.
They changed to the
I would-
Frankenwing a few years ago, and I don't care for it.
I was actually looking at their sauces earlier, like remembering, like, oh yeah, that was good. I'm
Okay,
a Nashville hot guy.
Yeah, I'm also a lemon pepper wet guy, and nobody in town currently sells them. Wingstop had them as a special for a minute. Hub City Wings was the
I
only
just-
place in town that would do them.
That's who
They
I
were
used
real
to do
good.
it was Hub City Wings.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. Let me just read you into the greatness that is 50th and I don't know, Elgin Kokio Chicken. It
Yes.
is their wings are the best wings in town. Bar
Yes.
none.
Okay.
They
It's so good. And
that's a place where, okay, it's not a knock. It's just, hey, they take a minute. So they
yeah, you told me about it.
right.
You mentioned
Yeah.
it the first time. Yeah.
It's an excellent. Oh my gosh, the way they batter it, just how they cook it.
yes.
Uh,
I'm talking.
they are
I'm
not
talking
firing up a microwave.
No, but the microwave reheat of those wings are still crispy, sauced
Mm.
2 days later. Like they are always crispy, so good. And so they have a Korean special sauce that is killer, super good. But anyway, that's not very widely accepted.
So I've added. Well, should I add? I mean, we'll just go ahead and add Kokios in there.
I'm
And
telling
then
you, everybody try Kokio. Like, if you're in Lubbock, go eat Kokio chicken. Get the wings, it's Korean fried chicken. It's delicious. Please
I
don't
really-
let it close. It's right by my house.
I really want to add Nashville Hot, but I feel like we've got to stay consistent with, is there a certain restaurant that has a good, a certain kind of chain that has a good Nashville Hot? I know that Slim's
that's the
has one,
thing.
but I haven't tried it.
It's okay.
Yeah, see, I buy Frank's Nashville Hot for home, but it's not really a chain, but like Caprock's Down and Dirty wings are really good.
Yeah, those
So
are
like anything down and dirty from Caprock or Orlando's is delicious.
Yeah,
Dirk's does a good Nashville hot.
that's it. Okay, we'll do that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
agree.
Okay. Yep. Not a chain, but yeah.
No, it's not a
Okay.
chain. So it's obviously hyper local, but so it's Caprock and Orlando's.
Well, but there's multiple locations.
Two of each.
I also added, after we started talking, I added Braum sauce. Somehow that got left off,
Yes.
Spencer, because
Yeah.
we had this on here. I don't know. I take full responsibility. I left it off, or maybe I added it into the ranch region. Nope, no, I didn't. It was just completely off.
Do we need a trim list? We're at 14 now.
How did we do this last time? Oh, we
I-
kind of lumped them into categories, didn't
We
we?
did colors. We did red, green, and white.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. What if we each remove? Okay. What are our bottom two?
Sweet and spicy sriracha
Okay.
and Wingstop buffalo.
Okay. My bottom two will be
Where
slim sauce.
where are the plucker sauces?
I've never been to Pluckers.
I haven't been recently enough. We did miss out on the Steak and the Plains Pluckers location.
We did? I thought
keep putting that
it was
plug in
still in
there.
the works.
Well,
Well,
we don't have the
they're
capital.
opening one in Lubbock, right?
Yeah,
What?
yeah. I think it's taken over that old Dion's location on like North University, across from the university.
Need to talk to somebody.
I've never had Red Robin campfire sauce.
Okay.
I could lose Chick-fil-A sauce.
Ooh, that cuts deep. Okay. I could
I'd probably
lose.
take Polynesian sauce over Chick-fil-A sauce.
You know,
I
hold
could
on.
lose
I'm gonna switch mine real quick.
Slims and Raisin Canes. I think those are the two that I could lose. Slims has good sauces, but the Slim sauce is not very good. Okay, so that rules those out, basically. Except Chick-fil-A sauce, it might still.
How could you, Keith? How could you? It's cutting deep, man. All right. Do we just, so we'll go through this list of each sauce and we'll just kind of, well,
Oh,
shoot,
you know
hold
what I
on.
want on the list? I want Taco Bell fire sauce. And I want Allsup's taco sauce.
For fries and wings?
Allsup's taco
yeah,
sauce did
never
make it on the Mexican region. The Taco Bell
I
red
forgot we're
sauce.
doing.
Yeah.
I was like,
forgot we're doing fries and wings.
I was like,
I was just
share.
thinking
if but yeah, I was like, man, I would try fries with those if you say they're good with them. Dang straight. Okay, Spencer, I'm really not sure how to do it now. Okay, here's what we'll do. Let's take Raisin Canes and Slims off.
Okay.
We will remove those. Let's see. I'm good. I'm good with removing Red Robin Campfire.
Okay.
We can eliminate spicy sriracha. I'm also good with that.
Okay. I think we're good then.
What
Okay.
about McDonald's chicken McNugget sauces? Like McDonald's honey and some chicken McNugget slaps.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, just honey on
Everything.
Honey on chicken.
Yeah, that wasn't
You know
something
what you,
my wife does
you know
that.
what you guys need? I do honey on roast. It's delicious.
What?
Like beef roast, like chuck roast.
Yeah, like roast out of the crock pot with the juice and the potatoes and the carrots. Yep.
I do
You guys should
A1.
do a list of weird food pairings.
Well, that's coming up. It's
We
already in the
actually,
works.
yeah,
Well,
we
The best
touched
pairings
on
in
that
the world.
a few weeks ago, just kind of like a few things, and then we realized, oh, we've got way more than we thought we did, and we might need to branch out and ask some other people what theirs were.
Oh, I got some for you.
We just got one. Yeah. Honey and
No,
roast.
that's not the weirdest.
I was
Not
always
tonight.
told.
We're derailed too far.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I know.
Okay.
I
Gotta
know.
focus.
Yeah.
So where
Okay.
we at? So we do we just rank them now, or what do we do?
I was gonna say, like, if we're each in the document, we can just go through and do just insert our own rankings, but then we're not really talking about it, and
That's true.
That's what we're here to do. So, but there's so many. Like, okay, let's do fry sauces and wing sauces separately.
Okay, based off of what's left.
Yeah. So
Okay.
together we'll take rankings of Whataburger spicy ketchup, Chick-fil-A, Brahms, and
Okay.
because I guess the rest are wings.
So, Whataburger spicy ketchup, Chick-fil-A sauce, Chick-fil-A honey roasted barbecue, and Brahms sauce. 1 to 4. What are those? to
Okay,
each
so
of you.
for me, give me Brahms 1. Chick-fil-A 2, spicy ketchup 3, and what was the other one? The honey roasted barbecue, 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, what were they again? Honey roasted barbecue,
Brahms,
Chick-fil-A sauce, Brahms sauce.
Whataburger spicy ketchup.
Okay.
The original with the black.
I'm going spicy ketchup, honey roasted barbecue, I guess Chick-fil-A sauce, and I'm not ranking the other one because Brahms is trash.
Well, you've got to, because right now the ranking, the average is a 1.
Oh, hang on.
So
Okay, so 3. And
I
then
mean,
we'll
obviously
do.
it's 4. Give it an
Okay. Well, give it an 8.
8.
All right, so I am going of these. I'm going Chick-fil-A 1, Brahms sauce 2, Whataburger spicy ketchup 3, and then honey roasted barbecue 4. Oh man, we've got a 3-way tie. No, we don't. No, we don't. Okay, clear winner somehow from that
Chick-fil-A.
is Chick-fil-A sauce. So the Chick-fil-A sauce has won the fry sauce region.
Sure.
And we'll face off against the winner of the wing sauce. I don't know what to do with my hands region, which we will now.
Are you doing Tai Chi?
I don't know.
All right.
Maybe. Okay. So what's left? We have Buffalo Wild Wings Asian Zing, Buffalo Wild Wings Caribbean Jerk, Wingstop Buffalo, Kokyo Korean, Caprock Down and Dirty, and Dirk's Nashville Hot.
So 6. We need 1 through 6 on this one.
Yes.
All right. I guess just in the purist in me, I'm gonna take Buffalo 1.
Wingstop Buffalo?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am gonna do Down and Dirty 2, Nashville Hot 3, Caribbean Jerk 4, Asian Zing 5, and I have not had Kokyo. Sorry, it's 6.
Yeah.
So I haven't had Kokyo's Korean sauce, but based off how good their wings are and their product,
So
I feel like I would be wrong to put them at 1, but I'm putting them at 2
Oh,
because man, they have such a good. They make a solid piece of work over there. Okay. Oh, it is very solid product.
Much easier to order if the daughter is working. Otherwise, you're just lost.
True.
Just saying.
So I'm gonna put that as 2. I'm going hyper local here. Caprock Down and Dirty is 1 for me because for some reason I forgot about that, and that's it. That is just I think my favorite wing in town or abroad. 3, I'm gonna go with. I mean, Dirk's is really good too, but I will buy Asian Zing and I will buy Caribbean Jerk. So those are 3 and 4 for me. I will buy those to make wings at home. Dirk's I'm going to put at 5, Nashville Hot, and then 6 for Wingstop Buffalo. It's all up to you, man.
I'm going Dirk's 1. Holla at your boy. I'll go Caprock 2, Kokyo 3, Asian Zing 4. I'm forgetting. Caribbean Jerk 5, Wingstop 6.
Ooh, okay. Clear winner. Caprock Down and Dirty with an average score of 1.7.
So that's Caprock Down and Dirty versus Chick-fil-A sauce?
Yes.
That one's easy.
Yeah.
Down and Dirty.
I agree. Down and Dirty takes it. That's it.
Show's over.
We've decided another one.
2 in the books.
Last week was Casa Ole green sauce, so it was also regional, but this one's a little bit even more hyper regional. So it's fine. We got this. Okay. Cap
All right.
Rock. Sorry, I was typing. I was saying what I was typing out loud, Spencer. Feel free to go ahead and
No, I was gonna get us to what do we
get
learn.
to whatever you're getting to. Okay.
We've got one thing on here, and it's from you, Michael. So it's got to wait for you to write it out here.
Oh, okay.
But I feel like Keith will be able to weigh in here with his connections to this fine establishment. But
Yeah, I am ready for what we learned. If you want
All right.
to fire up the sound bite.
All right, here we go.
What did we learn, Palmer?
I don't know, sir.
I don't know either.
All right, Michael, what did we learn?
I learned that Evie Mays is still really freaking good. I have not been out there in an embarrassingly long amount of time. I had it on my calendar. I was like, I'm taking the family on Sunday lunch this May, and I moved it like 2 or 3 times, and then finally we got to go this last week. Fantastic. Got there at 11:30. They have a family meal that feeds 3 to 4 people, which is generous. That is a generous way of putting it. And you get some of everything. You get some ribs, each type of sausage. You get half a chicken. You get turkey. You get brisket. You get pulled pork. 4 sides, I think. And I mean, beer's complimentary, all that stuff. So that was $50, which I know a lot of people are, 50. Yeah, but there's still food in this house from that.
That's a number 6.
Yes, he knows.
if you get the other one, the bigger one, like that's a quarter pound of everything. You get the big one, it's a half pound of everything.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, and I was just impressed that
Imagine how much food that is.
Oh, I know. I was impressed that because it was just me and my wife and daughter, and my daughter eats. She's 7, and she'll eat barbecue, and she'll eat pecan pie. I've discovered too, because she loved that as well. And so, the 3 of us ate on that, and for 2 or 3 days, and there's still a little bit left in the fridge that I don't know if I'm going to get around to. I hope so. But anyway, fantastic. Loved it. Grabbed a Miller High Life out of the complimentary beer bucket, poured it into a clear plastic glass, and it was just perfection. So Evie Mays is still really good, and so are cheap domestic beers. That is what I have learned, especially when those cheap domestic beers are free.
The champagne of beers.
Yes, absolutely. So bubbly. Did y'all learn anything?
So I'll tack onto your story that Evie Mays is opening a location in Miramar Beach, Florida.
Yeah.
And they are about to they're going in mass soon to ramp it up and open. And last summer I took my family on a kind of route around Colorado to a bunch of different national park sites and camping and fishing and stuff, and then kind of back through New Mexico home. And my wife goes, well, it'd be kind of cool to go out there and eat at the new Evie Mays. When's it going to open? And I texted to ask, and they're like, yeah, hoping for this date, but we're going to have a big blowout, grand opening around 4th of July. I'm like, oh, well, that's when my family vacation is.
Oh, there
Perfect.
you go.
Nice.
And so we're kind of trying to figure out, where do we want to go? Do we want to end up there? Because Miramar Beach is west, on the Gulf,
Yes.
whatever that's called. What's that called is that a panhandle? Whatever that's called in Florida. And so it's much closer than Orlando, I mean, it's not close, but it's 15 hours instead of 24. So that would be awesome to get to go check that out and party the opening of Evie Mays Miramar Beach.
My mother-in-law lived in Crestview for years, and one year for Thanksgiving, they did this quite a bit, but weren't able to, and for several years And so one year for Thanksgiving, they rented a beach house for us, and we went 30A is kind of what that area is called too. So we went down there. There's some great breweries in the area. There's all sorts of cool restaurants. I mean, it's a happening area. It's really neat. If y'all get to go, I think it's the as great as Evie Mays will be. There's a ton of cool stuff to do down there too. That's a fun trip, man.
I didn't learn anything. I'm sorry. I failed you.
We'll try again next
I'll tell you
week.
something. Obviously, I'm not on weekly, but I'll tell you something I've learned reasonably. I mean, over the last couple of years, but like was reminded recently. Hotel Turkey is one of the coolest places in the world, and if you haven't been, you need to go. It's everything you want on like a West Texas Sunday afternoon, sitting on a shaded patio, eating great barbecue. They have that once a month on Barbecue Sunday. Live music, good people. Like it's just fun. Just straight up small town fun.
I ran into Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I ran into Root at Turnpike Troubadours, and he mentioned, y'all taking the trip out there, and the whole time he was telling me, I was like, I know I've got to go, and I feel the same way when you're telling me, like, I know, and we actually have looked at it, and we've got to get out there this summer sometime. It looks like a blast.
It's fun, and you can stay. I mean, you can camp if you want. You can take an RV. You can stay in. They have containers converted into hotel rooms that are great. You can stay in the old hotel. But like I took the family on a barbecue Sunday a while back. That's what made me think of it. Their barbecue is incredible. And we brought a ton home and had a great Sunday hanging out and playing. And there's a big sandbox for the kids, and barbecue Sundays in the summer. They have a bunch of vendors out there, kind of flea market style, not flea market, like farmer's market style.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the next week I went with friends out there, blue light friends, for who was playing. Red Shahan played and others, and they had a crawfish boil. And I kept looking at my watch like, okay, you're leaving at 5. Oh, okay, you're leaving at 6. And I ended up leaving at 10:45.
Oh no,
getting home at like 12:30 in the morning. But it was so much fun. It was so great.
Nice.
Great place to hang out. Good people. It's just, it's just pure fun. Great for the family. Great for friends. Whatever. But yeah, I highly encourage people to check it out.
Nice. Well, I think that's going to do it this week for us on the 23 Personnel Podcast. Super grateful to have Keith on with us to chop up some baseball and then talk through some of the restaurant sauces. But always welcome. Love to have you on, Keith. Thanks for spending your night with us. But yeah, we are in the off season. So we'll get more of this over the next couple of months. But for Michael and Spencer, catch you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast. Help us out by subscribing, rating the show, and leaving a review. Follow us on Twitter at 23 Personnel, Spencer at PuntSuck, and Michael at Michael_LBK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up and let the tortillas fly.